Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Esther Speaks Out. Today, I would like to speak out against procrastination. I was at an event at church today, and I was speaking to a woman I know in one of the departments. And we began to talk about something completely different, but ultimately it came back to us not following through on things that would deepen our hearts. And we had a long discussion, myself, her, and another woman, and we talked about the fact that God's put these things inside of our hearts, but then we don't follow through and take actions. What was interesting was that they both said, God's doing something with us and preparing for us during this season. And I totally agreed. And then we both recognized that we weren't being obedient. A lot of times when we procrastinate and put off doing things that are in our hearts, it's because we're afraid. Could be that we're afraid of failure, could be that we're even afraid of success. And this sometimes can be a challenge if you've grown up in an environment where people don't expect much of you and where sometimes we don't always expect the most of ourselves because of where we came from. The reality is, if God called us to it, then that means He's already equipped us for it. This has taken me a long time to really embrace because sometimes the things that God calls us to do are just based on our simple gifts. Like, I love singing, I love empowering people. And sometimes God will call me to do and stretch myself in events that use my skills and my abilities and my talents. And then there are other times I hesitate. Why do I procrastinate? Sometimes it is because of my schedule. And a lot of times within my schedule, I'm thinking there are so many different aspects of this I need to do, or that this will take up too much time and get away from the things I need to do for my job or the other commitments that I have. But what I'm finding is that by not following through when God's putting those promptings in my heart and in my mind, I'm blocking my own blessings. For a perfect example, months ago, God told me to finish putting up not only my channel, but my website. Now, I had a website a while back, and then I got rid of it and was planning to make a new website. That was a few years ago. So recently, more and more, God had been prompting me, listen, you need to get that done. And He would do it through shows, through speakers, through music about not giving up on your dreams and taking action, and all these different messages I heard. And then I might have made one step towards it, but then I didn't follow through. And I had to realize that I had some concerns of why I hadn't done it. A lot of times it's, well, what do people think? They might think that I'm trying to ... you fill in the blank. For me, it was a combination of things. Sometimes growing up, I would hear things that were said to me that were negative. And believe it or not, those tapes still try to play in my mind. And a lot of times when I would take the action, I would get blessed. But then there were the other times where I let those voices control what I did or what I didn't do. And now I'm at a point in phase where I know I have to get the website done. And what happened was a couple of people had business opportunities for me. And then they asked, what's your website? I, of course, said, well, I'm working on it. And that conviction was in my heart, you know you were supposed to do that, E. You know you were supposed to do that. And then I began to see how when God is prompting us to do something, it's because he knows what's coming ahead of time. And he's trying to prepare us for what he has for us if we would only take the actions and be consistent and following through. So the next time you find yourselves wanting to put off taking an action, think about all the blessings that you could be missing. And when I say blessings, I don't just mean financially, I mean the people's lives that you could change. And that's what I had to start doing, which made me start doing these videos again and made me come up with a plan to get my website done. There were other times that I actually paid people to get the website done, and something always fell through. So my rationale of getting the website done was hire someone else. And each time it fell through, I felt like God was like, I told you to sit down and do it. And I would have all the excuses in the world like Moses, but Lord, I'm just a person who's not big on technology. But Lord, what if they say something at my job? But Lord, and again, God, in his patient love and kindness, would just keep bringing it up. So now I have officially come up with a plan and I'm getting held accountable by others. And accountability, although we don't like people to know our business sometimes, can be the best thing because I find that when I am accountable to someone else, it pushes me to do what I need to do based on the commitment that I said. So if I said I'm going to have the domain name brought by a certain time, or here's the consequence, or here's what I need to do for the other person, somehow it just motivates me. That makes me push to do it in spite of everything else I have going on. And sometimes we need that. But more importantly, we need to think about the blessings for other people who are missing out on the things that we are not being obedient that God tells us to do. We think what I have to say isn't so important. However, more and more, I'm realizing in my case that those little nuggets that I share with people on a daily basis, just being me in life, if that helps them, and some of them will come back and say, I thought about what you said. That was a good point. Or you know what? When you said this quote, all these different things, and God is using that and saying, So imagine who else you could help out there if you would just be obedient, if you would just stop procrastinating. So 2019 is about to end, and I have made a commitment that I am going to get not only my channel up and running. When I say up and running, it's up already, but I mean there's so many videos that someone could just sit there for an hour and just listen to the things that have been placed on my heart from different circumstances and situations. 2020 is coming in and we need to make it the best year yet. And the only way we will do that is if we are obedient to the promptings that God puts on our hearts to do things. God has blessings waiting for us. Today, when I had that conversation with the women, I simply went downstairs to get a safety pin. And almost half an hour later, I was in a conversation, an in-depth conversation with these two other women, and found out that they have a love for speaking like I do, but they actually have a fear of it. And the time that I spent with them, giving them little tips on what they could do to be more effective and more confident, they were empowered by that. And that is what God has us here to do, to empower and help others. And that conversation today was a reminder to me. Stop being like Moses and making excuses and make a plan to follow those actions through so I can be one step closer to achieving my dreams. So I challenge you, the next time a thought comes to get something done, God is prompting you, I challenge you. Set aside 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and take one action. One action. You could set the timer for 5 minutes and take one action that will move you closer to your goals and your dreams and the things that God put in our hearts. Because the bottom line is, we are here to make a difference in the world that helps others. It's not about us. And sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves and what people are going to think and how long it's going to take and the investment we'll need to make. But one thing I'm learning more and more, just as those women were blessed today by me just being obedient and following the thought to go ask for a safety pin from that department, the more blessings will come into my life and yours when we speak out against procrastination and take action. This is Esther with Esther Speaks Out, speaking out against all those things that get in the way of us living the fulfilling life that God has for us. His purpose and his plan for us it's good. It's good. But we need to obey. We need to stop making excuses. And what better time than the end of 2019 to make a commitment to stop procrastination, speak out against it, and take action. I'll see you soon.